Welcome to Coming Clean with Indy Lee, a podcast series about living with passion, acting with purpose, and being fully present. I'm your host, Indy Lee. Today's guest is Dana Jackson. She's the founder of Beneath Your Mask. Now, Dana has an incredible story that I connected with, having founded a brand based on her own personal health scare. So you can understand why. Obviously, I'm seeing some similarities here. So Dana, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I love that the name of your company is Beneath Your Mask, and it has such a beautiful meaning. So I'd love for you to really share how you chose that name and share with the listeners your journey.
The name Beneath Your Mask comes from the premise that you can't truly be healed until you remove the mask that you're presenting to the world. So basically, God can't heal your representative. And I got to that place in my own life after being diagnosed with lupus and lupus nephritis. I went from having this amazing career in entertainment, seeing myself outwardly as beautiful, and then getting to a place where I literally could not look in the mirror at myself. And I wanted to just crawl into a hole. And so after going through a really just intensive healing journey and I don't know if you want me to give the short or long version of the story.
Share, because I think so many people go through trials and tribulations in their life, and hearing what other people overcome really helps them to understand that they can overcome this too and that they're not alone.
Sure. So at the time that I was diagnosed with lupus and lupus nephritis, I was right after my 30th birthday, I was going to the dermatologist for cystic acne. At the time, I worked in the entertainment industry, and I had this amazing career. And I remember just being on this conference call and praying for direction, because I was like, I just don't feel like this is my purpose. Like, I'm not living my purpose, but I also had everything I had asked for. So I was at this really weird place in my life of what am I supposed to be doing with myself? Simultaneously, I'm dealing with really bad cystic acne at the time. I went to the dermatologist for the acne, and they prescribed me a medication called Bactrim, which is a really strong antibiotic. And when I took the medication, my eyes would be swollen shut when I would wake up. My hands would be locked closed. And I called the dermatologist, and they said, you know what, stop taking it, and that should go away. Well, 3 weeks and several steroid shots later, the symptoms never went away. So I went back into the office, and they said, you know, this sounds like this could be lupus. You should get an ANA test. And when I got the ANA test, that was positive. And from there, I got tested for lupus. Well, of course, I go to Google. Who wouldn't?
I did the same thing.
They have something called drug-induced lupus, and they said that this lasts like 6 months to 2 years. I'm sorry. And I was like, well, this must be what I have, because I didn't have this before I took this medication. And so when I went to the doctor to get my results, they said, no, this is not drug-induced. And I was like, this is drug-induced. And so we kind of went back and forth until for some strange reason, the doctor agreed with me and my no expertise about the situation. And needless to say, that did not end up being my doctor, but I wanted second and third opinions because I was really in denial about it. And I just refused to accept it. And so I ended up going to Houston. The doctors there did skin and kidney biopsies on me, and they said this is not drug-induced. It's in your kidneys. If you don't take this medication, you're going to need dialysis and a transplant. Because, like I said, I was in denial. I wouldn't take the medication. I was doing juice fasts, and I was taking herbs and just doing all types of stuff. I was like, I'm going to cure myself.
I know the feeling.
And then I left Houston, went back to Atlanta. And at the time, I wore my hair in a sew-in, so my hair was all braided. And I always had really long hair growing up, and like long, thick hair, and all of my hair came out with a braid. And that was kind of the moment that it hit me. It wasn't the rashes and, you know, all the swelling and everything. It was just losing all of my hair. And I just completely broke down, and I just detached myself from the world. I worked from home, so I would just get on my computer, do my work, and just isolate myself from everybody. My mother even had to have my building concierge come knock on my door because I just would not talk to anybody. And a friend of mine, and she was a colleague at the time, she worked for one of my clients, and she was reaching out to me about business stuff, but she could just really sense that something was going on with me. And she said, And I told her, about the diagnosis, and she said, "You really need to talk to somebody. I have somebody that I want you to talk to." And this person was a Western medicine doctor living over in Abu Dhabi that also practiced Eastern medicine. And I sent her my labs. We got on the phone, and she was like kind of like that first person that got me to this point of acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
That this was happening. And she said, "You need to accept that this is happening." She said, any doctor in their right mind would admit you to the hospital, because I was refusing kind of to go to the doctors and the hospital, and I didn't want them to give me like all these steroids and everything that they were kind of like threatening me with is what it felt like.
Yeah, you feel like you're out of control of your own life, and you're trying to figure out how do I gain some control and advocate for yourself.
Exactly, especially as somebody who is used to controlling the situation and controlling my life, and like I'm such an over planner. So this is not this is not what is supposed to be next for me. And she said, "I want to help you, but I feel like you aren't happy in Atlanta, and you should go to LA." And she sent me, and she's like, "And I'm going to send my husband there to help you." And so she sent me all these lists of like Chinese herbs to order. And then I went to Old Navy and I bought 3 jogging suits that could fit me, because by now I had gained like 100 pounds in water weight. So I was literally like the Michelin man, and my skin hurt to touch because it was so stretched out. And I had to buy these like huge jogging suits that wouldn't squeeze and pinch my skin. And I took the one pair of flip-flops I could fit on my feet, and I got on a plane to LA. And when I got to the doctors there, like it kind of happened like clockwork as far as like everything that I had been warned about. He immediately was like, "You have to go to emergency. I can't even like see you in my office," because they did the EKG into the office, and he's like, "She has to go to emergency now." And then I was admitted to Cedars. They pumped me with 1,000 milligrams of steroids, basically all the stuff that Houston doctors had warned me about.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that. I ended up having to do chemotherapy as well for my kidneys, because they were at stage 3 and 5 for lupus nephritis. And also I did Chinese herbs. I did juicing. I did a vegan diet. I worked at a lot of mental and spiritual work. Yep. And my health just really began to turn around. And so I did that for about like 6 months in California, and then I took a train to Chicago because I still could not fly. I took a 42-hour train.
Oh my gosh.
Because that's my hometown, and I was just like, if things go back wrong, let me just get whatever time I have left with my family. Mm-hmm. And I just continued to get better, and I really learned about what I was putting in my body, and I became super sensitive about what I was putting on my body. I had never treated my skin like an organ prior to this. I bought what was in the store. I assumed that it was safe. I assumed that somebody regulated this stuff if it was in the store and on the shelf. And so
listeners are like, I wonder why she and Indy are kindred spirits.
Exactly. Like when I heard you tell your story and Neiman said that, I was like, oh my gosh, like I had no idea that was how you started your brand with such a similar like journey.
Yep. And I did the Chinese medicine herbs. I did everything I could to avoid surgery. And I'll never forget, it was at one point that I had a doctor who really lives in China but comes over twice a year that I was lucky enough to get to spend time with. And he would spend time doing energy healing and herbs. I felt like I was eating bark, and sipping bark every day. And he finally said, it's through the translator, you need surgery. Like it has to happen. So yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from. Totally understand.
Especially as far as things, sometimes you're just so far gone that you need both modalities. Like you need the Eastern and the Western.
Exactly.
And that was the case for me, even though ideally I would have just done the Eastern, but I would have definitely died if I did not do the Western medicine
Absolutely
as well. Yeah. And from there, I was back home in Chicago, and I continued to get better. And I was looking for something because I had like this really thick, dry skin from the chemo, and then I also had these dark purple stretch marks from gaining and losing so much weight so fast. So, like, if you can imagine gaining and losing 100 pounds over the course of 30 days, like what that does to your skin and your body. And so I was looking for something to repair that damage, but then I also wanted it to be like non-toxic. And so I really couldn't find anything. And I just said, I'm just going to start retouching ingredients and make what I want, because it was also important to me that this thing did not feel like medicine, because by now I was on like 50 supplements at that time. And it felt like my life revolved around lupus, and I just needed something that felt normal, like it was for a normal person. And so that is why what you'll notice, like with our packaging and our scent profiles and everything, it just feels it feels like a treat to yourself. And that's how I want people to feel special. I want them to feel like they're just treating themselves, whether they're using it because they just like it, or they're using it because they do have an illness and they don't want something that is like toxic and loading their system down. So I just wanted it to not compromise on any level, but still be safe and effective.
That sounds familiar to me.
That's how Beneath Your Mask was born. And then, and that was back in like 2012. I didn't launch Beneath Your Mask until 2016. I never intended to have a brand. I never intended to sell my products, but I would gift Heal, which is that product I made back in 2012, and it's our hero product. I would gift it to like my coworkers and friends and family, and they would harass me about it. And I'm like, look, I don't plan to be making lotion. I have a job. And I would even try to mix other companies' products just to get that same moment, and I just could never get that same feeling and hydration that just lasted and lasted and lasted. And so it was just this like aha moment for me when I was finally able to fly again. And I used to have to wear compression tights so that I wouldn't get blood clots. Mm-hmm. But it would make my skin really tight and dry. And I had this aha moment when I bought this like amazing expensive cream. And then 2 seconds later, my skin was tight and dry again. And so I was just like, I really have something here. And I want to share the products that have helped me, but I also want to share my journey, because I really wanted people to see that there is beauty on the other side of that journey. And that's hard to see when you're in
love
it,
that. Yeah, it is. But that's what I loved. And I was so excited to have you on the podcast after we kind of had a virtual coffee date. I was like, holy mackerel. I mean, I was inspired by your journey. I was touched by how similar our paths have been and the reasoning, and I wanted more people to know who you are and why you are.
Oh, thank you.
I think you are incredible and inspirational, and what you have created is incredible.
Thank you, Indy. That literally means the world coming from you. I told you about how when I first spotted your product. So I literally remember the moment, because the packaging, everything was just so beautiful to me. And so that means the world coming from you.
Thank you. So we now, fast forward to today. And can you tell people like where your products are? I mean, I want people to understand that, okay, in 2012, you had this, then 2016, you realized you had something. And here we are in 2020, and you are now blowing up, which is amazing. Amazing. And what has that been like to now see your stores in these incredible stores? To see your products in these incredible stores.
It's kind of surreal, because when you launch a brand, and my background is not in beauty at all, so I didn't have like any contacts in beauty, any resources in beauty. So I knew what I wanted for Beneath Your Mask. I had no idea how that was going to happen.
Ignorance,
but it was just honestly me.
Bliss.
Exactly.
I had no idea.
I mean, if I even knew now, I probably would never have done it.
I know. I think back for me too. I mean, again, like you, didn't come from beauty. And I guess I didn't know enough to, like, it's good that I didn't know what I didn't even know, because I probably never would have started. But now,
I think if you would have come in with the expertise and even people telling you what it truly costs, you would be like, no way. No way.
No way. No way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when did you know that the brand was really onto something?
So I did a trade show. So I launched in December of 2016, and then I did a trade show, Indie Beauty Expo, in May of 2017 in Dallas. And the one thing about Beneath Your Mask, I took my time launching it. So I took about 18 months from beginning to launch, and I was constantly pushing back the launch date. And people will be like, what's taking so long? It's just a lotion. Like, and I was just like, you know what? I want to do this right the first time. And not that there's a right or wrong way to do that, because some people do come out and rebrand. But I just wanted to come out the door just with everything on point. And so I really took my time with it. I obsessed over every single detail. And I did this trade show, and I had a list of buyers that was going to be at the trade show. And I said, okay, these are like the 10 like musts for me that I must meet, and I want to give them like a special package. And when I did the trade show, like the response to Beneath Your Mask in our booth was insane. Again, I was like marking out with blue painter's tape in my living room what this booth was going to look like, where every single jar and bottle was going to fit. This is not like professionally done at all. It was literally just me in my living room saying, this is my vision. This is how I want it to look. Ordering like custom glass things off of Etsy, just all these little details. And then my hair, like I wore a sequin skirt. I just wanted to be the total embodiment of the brand, the packaging, everything. I put contact paper over, like marble contact paper over shelves that I bought from like Walmart. People thought I had brought marble shelves, and the presentation was just like so stunning, and the response to it was just like insanity. And one of the stores that when I was saying that I want to have my brand in Neiman Marcus one day, again, not knowing how that was going to happen, they were one of the buyers that were going to be there. And they had probably about 19 people with them. And when I say they just kept coming back to my booth, I was like, oh my gosh. And my fiance was there, and he heard like the head buyer, Kelly St. John at the time, say, oh, she's ready. And I remember we left the trade show, and it was like raining. We were driving back to Houston, and I was like, do not crash. I'm going to be in Neiman Marcus. I have to live.
I love it. I love it. Yes.
But yeah, they were like asking for more and more products. They were asking me if I have barcodes. I don't even know if I knew what a barcode was. I was like, yeah, I'll get it. I'll figure it out. And that's just kind of that was kind of the moment for me, because that like getting into Neiman Marcus is like a stamp of approval, right?
Sure.
Especially for such a small indie brand. And so that was kind of the moment for me. And then I had met buyers from like Credo there and Beauty Heroes and like all of these places that were like holy grail places to eventually end up being in. And not that it happens like overnight. Some of them I didn't get into until a year later. But it was, I think that kind of, those seals of approval was how I knew that, like, okay, you package this properly, you price this properly, you have a good, effective product. And yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. I love your story, and I love hearing, the whole thing where you're saying it's surreal, and then you're like, you know what? I don't know what a barcode is, but yeah, sure. Yep, we're going to have it, because it's so similar to my story in that exactly that's how it was. I was like, okay, we'll figure it out,
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. But don't know how I'm going to pay for that, but I'm going to figure it out. And now you get to see, I mean, I remember, and even to this day, when I go into stores and I see the products on the shelf, I still cry. Like 100%. Of course I still do. I mean, it's always, it's like you're watching your baby like be born, and then you're watching it grow through the stages. Like, okay, it was born. So now that you have a website, oh my gosh, look, they're going to kindergarten and they got into a boutique. Oh my God, we're graduating high school. I'm in Neiman Marcus. It's all of those things. And I know as a fellow brand founder, it's so rewarding. It's so rewarding because it's like another child, and it's your heart and soul. It really is. Yeah. I'm sure you're similar to me, where you work 24/7 still, and it doesn't feel like you're working because you still love what you do. That doesn't mean you don't get burnt out, but you love it, and you're like, okay, what else can I do? How can I make it go faster? What am I missing? What are the different levers? So I love that.
And it's so hard to turn off. It's like you kind of sacrifice every area of your life to build a brand in this way, especially if you have a certain vision for it. And so that's definitely something I struggle with, because I will, first of all, there's always something to be done when you do almost everything yourself. But then when you see the momentum and when you see the traction, you're like, you feel like you have to capitalize on it as well, because you don't know how long that lasts. And because you also have wanted that for so long, like to some people it seems overnight, but for me it feels like forever because I'm also counting the time that I was like formulating products and working on packaging and telling a designer, move this period over 1 millimeter. Like,
yep.
And so, it definitely, it consumes you, but it's worth it.
I couldn't agree more. So kind of related in terms of, working and, nonstop. Obviously, your brand is built on wellness, very similar to mine. So what does wellness really mean to you now? Because I know before you started and before you got sick and the diagnosis, I'm sure it meant something very different than where you are now.
Yeah. I don't even know that I practiced wellness before. I think it's so funny because I used to shop a lot. And then when I got sick, I had to take all that money and I used it on my health. And so at first I was upset about that. And then I got to this point of saying, well, I'm grateful that I'm able to invest in my health, because it really is expensive to be on tons of supplements, integrative doctors, all of those things. So I don't even know that I practiced wellness before. I probably was very did a lot for myself, but I wouldn't say I practiced wellness prior to that. Now it's that's where everything goes to. It's just trying to make sure that I'm taking care of my health. So wellness to me right now looks like, and I was able to go back a little bit, but then we stopped again because I'm in LA, but Pilates Reformer is one of my absolute favorite things. So that is something I'm definitely missing out on. Also, something that I did a lot of when I was in LA the first time going through my lupus journey was Thai massage to help drain my lymphatic system. And that for me is something that I still do to this day. No matter what city I'm living in, I'm going to find the best Thai massage place and let them beat up on me. But they get all the kinks out. It is just the most amazing feeling. That's wellness to me. I think just eating well and rest. Rest is wellness to me. Being able to just sleep through the night is a beautiful thing. Not looking at my phone, trying not to look at email so much, shutting down some and saying you know what, I don't have to get back to that right away has become really important right now at this phase of the business, because it has, the amount of inquiries and stockists that are reaching out and all of this, it is truly, truly overwhelming. And so if I don't get a hold on taking care of me, then I'm going to be right back where I was, you know?
100%, especially now during this time of crisis. It's so important to put boundaries. And yet, I tell other people how important it is. And I'm like the cobbler without shoes, because I don't always listen to my own advice. But it's not just physical wellness. It is mental wellness as well.
Yeah. And it's important to say no. It's really important to say no. And then for me, what has also been important is getting out of a space of feeling like this one opportunity is going to make or break my business. And I think that I lived like that for just the first 3 years of, this one retailer, this one, press article, this one award, whatever it is, this one trade show is going to make or break my business. And then it's that's not the case. And so not working from that place has been helpful for me mentally lately, because it just becomes super overwhelming.
Yeah, no, I agree, because there's always going to be that additional one thing. You're always going to move that hat a little further to reach it.
Yeah.
I think that's indicative of all entrepreneurs, though.
And I think too, the thing that I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and I was thing that makes me successful is literally the same thing that will make me big. It's kind of like the thing that you love about a person is the same thing that like gets on your nerves about them. Like, oh my God, they're so nice. It's like, oh my God, they're too nice to everybody. It's like I'm the thing that like me paying attention to, obsessing over every detail, like making sure that the box is cut, like just all these little things that I obsess over that most people won't notice, right? That makes the brand as a whole great. It's also the same things that will stress me out and give me anxiety and make me sick because I'm worried about things that like most people won't even notice, So I'm trying to find that happy medium as we speak, for sure.
I think we all are. I think right now, no matter what field you're in, it's finding that balance. I mean, certainly with the pandemic and obviously the Black Lives Matter pandemic, as they're calling it, the pandemic within the pandemic, it's so heavy right now. It's so heavy right now. And it should be. It should be. I mean, there are things we really need to address in this world.
That we're forced to address because we're all home. We're all on social media. We can't go about our lives.
Exactly.
And so it's been a good thing in that sense that, we're forced to see what some people were easily able to ignore. But at the same time, it is like, just as a Black woman within all of that, it's still also very much my entire life. Like it's not these few months, and so
now, we, meaning someone like myself who is pretty damn white, all of us need to listen and to learn and to find solutions and reach their hand across and saying, I have to be a part of the problem because it's still here. And so how am I going to be part of the solution?
Yeah, exactly.
And I know for myself, a lot of that is giving people the space and a platform to discuss their struggles, as well as, reaching out and saying, how can I help? What can I do? And I think that's
actually doing the work. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not, you know what? Talk is cheap. What am I doing?
Yeah. No, I 1000% agree. Yeah. Like we can't go back to what it was, where it was just easy to act as if like it wasn't happening.
Yep. Exactly. So switching the topic from a heavy topic, I always like to ask 3 questions. And I definitely want to hear what's new. So at the end, I want you to share with everybody, of course, all your handles and then anything new that you want to share. But I love asking these questions of every guest. What are you currently passionate about?
I'm currently passionate about, this is so interesting because I am, as passionate as I am about Beneath Your Mask, I'm right now more passionate about my own like self-care and mental self-care, like in this space of everything that's going on in the world between COVID, as somebody who is certainly high risk if they were to catch it. So I have to be super cautious while it seems like the world is kind of moving around. Like, I definitely am not comfortable with that. But within COVID, within everything going on in the world with like police brutality, like constantly seeing it, the videos that are just like so graphic that I'm just like, I feel like I'm in this space where I have to right now focus on my mental and spiritual health before even like my brand or anything else right now. So that is like what I'm passionate about right now. I'm really passionate about, my life. My fiance's life has been completely put on hold for this brand. Like every single person in my life has had to make so many sacrifices for me to see this dream. And so right now I want to say, how can I pour back into myself, into my relationships, into my family, into my friends? Because that's what's the most important thing. And so that is what I am really, really passionate about right now.
I love it. And needed, like someone who has autoimmune disease as well and immune compromised. Yeah, I have to protect myself. Absolutely. But you're right. I don't make it a passion, and I probably should be a little bit more present about it. I agree. Okay. So what is giving you purpose right now?
That's a really good question. I think what's giving me purpose right now is obviously building a Black-owned brand in the luxury space when there aren't many of us, and seeing the doors that I'm able to open for other Black beauty entrepreneurs. Like a lot of times, our brands are maybe like only in drugstores or the like. And so I think right now, like I have so many people that reach out to me and they are like, you inspire me to do my brand, or I'm inspiring to really like elevate their brands. And so I think that is like so important to me. And then also just, one of the things that I realized when I got sick, after I got to the place of acceptance, because I absolutely went through like the 5 stages of grief and the why me. And I think that's totally natural and totally normal and okay. But I felt like, God brought people in my life to help me, for me to help other people. So my journey with lupus was not just about me. It was about, and as selfish as I would like to be and not have lupus, I always have felt like it's so much bigger than me, and the people that I'll be able to impact through me is like my true purpose.
And now every one of our guests know why you inspire me. What are you currently practicing in order to be more present or get more present on a regular basis?
Sure. I'm practicing staying off of my phone and email when like I'm in the presence of other people, just truly listening, being available to like the people around me. And the one thing that I try to practice even with my fiance is just to not talk about beneath your mask all the time. Because like I said, it's completely like taken over our lives. And so I'm really lucky. I'm really lucky that I have somebody that is like okay with that. But I am trying to be more present for the people in my life. And so just finding balance, like in my personal life, is like really important to me. I've like done the work and made a ton of sacrifices to like grow beneath your mask, and there's still so much growth to do. But I don't want to just continue sacrificing everything else in my life too.
Listen, it's so hard when you have, like for me, I have 3 kids, 2 dogs, a business, myself.
Oh my gosh.
It's like,
I cannot even imagine.
And you just do it. You just do it. Some days you feel
you
really,
figure it out.
Yeah. Some days you feel like, yeah, I'm on, I got it done. And other times I'm like, oh my God, where are the covers? So any exciting news, either new products or new retailers or anything that you would love to share?
Sure. So we just launched in Blue Mercury a couple of weeks, like not even a couple weeks ago, like a week and a half ago. So that is super exciting.
That's amazing. They're a fantastic retailer.
They're really amazing partners, because as big as they are, it doesn't feel like this big, corporation that is treating you like the little guy,
Yeah.
And that was my experience with Demons too. They were really great. They've been really great partners. And also we are part of the Nordstrom Top End at Nordstrom. So we're now available on their site and a few stores. And then our newest product that we launched is our Remedy Conditioning Lip Balm, and it is easily becoming our top seller, which is really hard to top your hero product. And I never expected it to, but we cannot keep it in stock. So that's like super exciting.
So here's a great thing to ask so that people can follow along. How can people follow you and learn more?
Sure. Our website is beneathyourmask.com. Our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everything is at Beneath Your Mask.
Fantastic. And I'll be sure to put those in the show notes as well, so people will be able to find it.
Perfect.
Dana, thank you so much for taking time today and really talking with me and telling everybody your story and sharing how and why Beneath Your Mask is so special. I really appreciate the time. I know how busy you are, and I know how hard it is to carve out time like this. So truly, truly, thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me. I'm so excited about it. I love when I have the opportunity to do a podcast that really resonates with me and your story and brand. I'm like such a fan of as well. So I am honored to be here.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Coming Clean with Indy Lee. As always, hit the subscribe button if you liked what you're hearing, and always love to read reviews. If you have any suggestions for upcoming episodes, feel free to email me at comingclean@indylee.com.